Okay, so now for the fun part, and I'm going to demonstrate just a couple of simple techniques that you can experiment with and you'll have a lot of fun. But to begin with, the shoe is a little big, so if I have my show transform controls checked at the top of my Photoshop interface up here, then when I want to just change the size, it's really easy. I can hold down the shift key to get a proportionate adjustment and then move it there. And I always have to go to my tool palette to apply the transformation. I've just kind of come up with a kind of a little title for my shoe, the Wonder Shoe, and get that there. Move the shoe down a bit, and then I have 3 words that I've kind of come up with. So I'm just going to talk about how to work with those. And my shoe is still a little big, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. There we go. So the first thing is I have my basic, I'm just giving my little graphic a title, the Wonder Shoe. And as you can see, you can work in the character window over here. So under your window, you go to character. And that is the tool that we use to edit the type elements. So I know I'm working with the type element because I lay down my type with my type tool, but also when I look in the layers, you can see there's a T here, and that means it's a type element. And it's calling up the fonts on your system. So I can edit my type using the character window because it's a font, right? So that means that, for example, comfortable, it's a type element. There it is, telling me that. And I can work with, usually the default things we work with are the amount of spacing, that you would apply. And that's a little bit too much. The default is always 0. But you can see kind of how tight that is. It looks kind of tight. There's not enough room between the letters. So it's always a good idea to kind of customize that. So I'm just going to work with 75. Usually the smaller the typeface, the more white space you need. This horizontal spacing or tracking is sometimes it's referred to as tracking. So I've kind of got that nice. And I really like the Arial rounded. And if you kind of zoom in, you can see that the edges, the terminals of the letters are rounded, and all the letters that have these end parts, the terminals, and that's really nice. It has a really soft feel, and I thought that was a really complementary typeface to work with, communicating comfort, right? And so that looks pretty good. And another technique you can work on when you're kind of constructing your graphics is, you will set up your color palette, and sometimes it's really nice to take an element like the shoe and use the color of that element and repeat it. And then it feels like a coherent kind of color strategy. So I've got my white comfortable shoe, and then I've got this lightweight element, and that might be a little big, so I'm going to nudge it in there. And as you can see, there's a little bit of green right on the very tip here, and so I kind of worked. I thought, oh, I'll work with that. So when I initially chose that color, I was inspired to kind of go and pick that color down here. But as you can see, it doesn't have that much contrast. It's not enough contrast. It looks like, it's a little too light. So you can go in and edit. If I move down the scale here, the grayscale in my color picker, you see how it picks up a little bit more. Now that's a little bit too heavy because I don't want it to dominate. I don't want that. That typeface is already a heavier weight than the comfortable, so I don't want it to dominate too much. But as you can see, like, you could either go light or you could go a little darker. And I'm going to go just a little darker, something like that. Okay? So make sure you have good contrast with your type elements on your background. And then in your character window, you've got a few things that you can also play with to kind of, give a text effect or a type effect. And I thought it might be kind of fun. And you might need to go get your, sometimes, can I see everything? Yeah, I guess you can see everything on there. There's the type size. You can work with the horizontal spacing or horizontal tracking. You can also, just to kind of demonstrate, you can also kind of increase the weight, the width weight of your typeface. And you can also work with horizontally stretching it, either making it smaller or making it larger. So those are kind of at your disposal to play with. And another thing is you can also, move a letter or the word. In this case, I'm going to do the one of the letters. Let me see here. Yeah, I want to move that H. I was kind of thinking of playing with the word light. What could I do to kind of reinforce, the meaning of light? So in this case, I'm going to move the letter above the baseline. So see how you can bump it up? And I'm going to do the same thing with the I. Whoops, wrong one. Bump it up. Okay, and yeah, that kind of works. Now, the thing is, I'm also looking at the L, and it feels a little short, so I'm going to stretch that one just a little bit bigger, give it a little more height. And I'm going to do the same thing with the T, because I'm anticipating that I want to increase just a little bit the height. So what is that, 114? I'm going to do the same with the one down here. So I can even type in, 114. And yeah. So, so you do have your character window, and it is, a type element, so it has the T there. But I'm thinking that I kind of want to do some other things, and I'm limited now as to what I can do. You can underline it, and you can put a stroke through it. But what I want to do is actually I want to kind of move the letters around a bit. So I'm going to keep the original type layer because that tells me which font it is, and that's a good thing to kind of have a record of. So I'm just going to copy that, and then I've got my original. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, I'm going to turn my original off, and this is I'm going to call it copy. Just yeah, I've already got it called lightweight copy. So then I'm going to go up to my type window or my type menu and go to rasterize type layer. Now watch when I rasterize my type layer, you see how the T disappears and now it's just the words on a transparent background. So it's no longer a font at this point, it's a bitmap graphic, okay? So then what I can do is I've got some kind of flexibility in terms of editing it. So this is where it gets really fun. So I'm going to select the G and I'm going to rotate it. So I can go to my my magic wand tool and I can select the G. Oh, I have to make sure it's on. I have that layer selected. So be on the right layer. Go in and select your G. And now if I do Command or Control T, I can rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it a bit and move it. And I have to transform it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the H. Select my H and Command or Control T. And I kind of want those to look like they're bumping each other. So there's a kind of a visual kind of connection between those two. And I think that's kind of fun. And I might even grab the T. It wants to keep going back to the default layer. So I'm going to grab the T. And then I'm going to select kind of the Move tool and use my arrow keys and just put it, yeah, maybe I'll move it just up a little bit, something like that. So you can kind of like, you know, customize your type like that. And another thing you could possibly do, I kind of like it just like that. I think simple is more sometimes with, especially with type. But Another thing you could do is I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool and I'm going to select from the bottom and make a selection that way. And then when I still have my selection, I can kind of just find the line with my white arrow there, and I can kind of adjust my selection. So maybe I decide I kind of want it to be placed in the middle of the lower horizontal bar of the E. So kind of got that set up. Then go to my move tool and make sure I'm on the right layer, and I'm going to separate it just a little bit. So that kind of, I don't know, it just gives it some kind of a fun effect, okay? But it's still legible. And then the last one, and I might decide that it could be a little smaller, so I can just do a slight adjustment that way. And I actually lined it up when I initially set it. There is also a paragraph window, so whenever you put your type down, you can arrange like a left alignment. I lined mine to the right. You can see it's still set up, so that's why it's aligned to the right, and then the left margin is a little uneven. So that was kind of specific because I wanted to bump it up against the shoe, and I kind of liked how that worked. Okay, the last one is fun, and yeah. So this is Arial. I'm working with Arial there, and the last one that I worked with, the fun type, that's the Copal standard. So I'm going to copy that again, so I have a working copy, and turn that one off, and I've got my fun copy there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go up and rasterize the type, and I want to rasterize the type because I have this idea that I kind of have a plan for this, and I kind of want to move, I want to move it up so it's near the shoelace. All right, so they all kind of feel like they're connected to the shoe somehow. Like comfortable is on an angle, and lightweight is bumped up to the heel, and fun is kind of nudged up and next to underneath the shoe and next to the shoelace. So I was thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate the three colors of this layout, white, red, and green, into this. And I thought this was a really fun typeface because it's got this real chunky, blocky inside, right? So with that in mind, I'm going to go grab my quick selection, or my magic wand tool, and I'm going to select inside the F, right? And then I'm going to, I have that red selected. Let me maybe select a darker red here. Yeah. And it's in my foreground, so I can just do my Option Delete. And then I'm going to do the same thing and grab the magic wand tool and select the U. And this time I want to get a white. And I'm going to do Option there. And then the last one is the N. And grab my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to go down and select the green, and then fill it, Option Delete. There's so there you go. It's like the Italian flag, right? Green, white, and red. So that kind of is that's kind of my graphic, pretty much done. The last thing I might do is the Wonder shoe. I kind of like that. That's just an Arial typeface again. But I was thinking, shoes are meant for walking, and walking implies motion. So I was thinking that I would just go in and do a bold italic, and it looks like it's going somewhere. Okay, so that's just a little taste of working with type as kind of a graphic element. And sometimes less is more. You just want to work with like one word or something, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. And you can edit your type either in the character window, or you can rasterize it and then go to town. You can also kind of put effects on things. Remember when we worked with the effects menu down here? You can work with that. You can also go up to your filters, and you can put filters on your rasterized type as well. So endless fun.